Okay, this is a 2006 Sorento, shipped to the Bahamas directly from Korea, more than likely. So a little bit different than the American version. And it has a periodic problem with the valve cover leaking onto the manifold on both sides. I changed the valve cover gaskets in 2016 and reviewed my video. It's always a good idea to make a video and as well take pictures as you go along. This time I'm not going to mention what size sockets like I did last time. I'm just going to take things apart. Anyway, I like to have Ziploc bags and label them for parts, metric sets, and a cardboard box for putting parts in. So let's see how it goes. Okay, first thing I like to do is disconnect this, which is easy enough. You push this down and undo it. And I like to put the bolts back in place, and so our throttle cable is out. Next I'm going to work on getting the carburetor loose. Okay, I got this baby loose, but I found there was no hose on this end. I'm going to look around later and see where that hose is that belongs there. Anyway, that's out. I left this attached onto the thing, and so I'll keep on going. Well, I've undone these two plugs, this one and this one. I think I'm going to just disconnect these and completely remove the carburetor. Last time I let it hang, and I usually let it hang when I change the spark plugs, but I want to completely remove it. The plenum on some of the, or the intake manifold, on some of the videos I saw, they wanted you to remove the entire windshield wiper mechanism and all this brackets. But I've had this off before. It's a struggle, but you can get it off without doing all this, so that's what I'm going to do. I'd add that having the carburetor off will make less weight and maybe make it easier to lift. Well, this one's giving me trouble coming off. It seems to turn a corner there and doesn't want to do it. So I've got a vice grip on there. I'm going to tap it around. And I probably shouldn't waste my time showing this because you'll figure it out. But that's just a technique I'm trying to use. Okay, I got both these lines off. There's a little bit of a lip on the end. Makes it harder to remove. This is interesting. It seems to be that these lines to the carburetor are actually coolant, not gas. Makes a lot of sense because the engine is fuel injected, so it gets injected right into the cylinders, and the carburetor only controls the airflow. So that's a cooling system for the carburetor. Cool the carburetor and cool the air going in, I suppose, to some extent. Okay, I'm feeling around up in here, and it feels like this clamp was never clamped on properly. So, it's never clamped on properly. Oops. Maybe that's the hose that goes to the part I was wondering about. I think that was the air intake missing a hose. Okay, I've loosed this and I unplugged this, and what was I going to do next? Let's see. I was going to try to get down behind here. There's a bolt to loosen that holds this big harness. I'm not sure how much good that'll, well, it has to come off anyway. Once I got everything loose, I could put the pliers on here and work this back. And now I should be able to get this out of there. Okay, putting all bolts back, finger tight, just so that I know where they go. I've loosed these guys, so So that almost can get farther back. Just got to deal with it over there. Okay, over here looks like they'll unplug, and looks like this is in bad shape. But that can unplug and unplug there. But this bracket should be removed next, so that when I loose this, everything can be moved out of the way. The 3 bolts, and the third bolt is on the other side of the harness on there, so not easy to find. Okay, we've loosed this one, and it had a clip on here, and it leads up to here. And this one seems to have trouble being removed. The clip seems to be damaged, and I'm not sure how to trigger it. Okay, we messed with this, but we couldn't find a real way to undo this. It seems to be really shot. So anyway, this it seems to be the side button on these two. So, oh, that one's off the bracket. I'm going to take the bracket off of these so that I can tuck them behind. Okay, this bracket is off. I left the bolt back on. Goes back here. Hard to reach. I loosen it with an open end, and then, well, pretty much I've had this apart before. So we got the wiring clear, and now we got to get this, which goes here. Becomes a metal bit. Maybe I don't need to loose this bracket. It could be that I can just loose it from here, and this from here, and then it should just lift. Yep. Well, let's see what happens. Well, we got 3 brackets here. One that attaches there. This may be possible to just loosen and leave in place, and this definitely has to move, so that's next on the agenda. Okay, this bracket's out. I put the bolts back. This is a 14, and put all the nut bolts back in so I don't have to label them. So we're going to move this, and I decided we have to move the whole thing, because we're going to want to move this cover, and to lift out the valve cover, this has to come off. Okay, right side brackets out, put the bolts back in, and we're ready to work on this one up here. Okay, we need to remember to put this back in the same position. Well, besides the main bolt, there's a nut here, and there's a nut back there, keep in mind. Okay, these are the middle bolts, the 3 middle bolts. 1, 2, 3. There may be a different length to these, which I suspect. Let's see. Yep, these are a hair longer. I tried to lift. I'm moving this bolt because it's touching up here. It's going to be tricky to get it out. Got it out. It was a struggle. The mechanic was right that it was avoid a lot of struggle. You could remove all that, but I was trying to take a shortcut, and I did get it off. Getting it on may be another problem. Okay, this is the middle bolt, and it seems to have a rubber washer, while this one didn't, unless it's still stuck on the cover. Okay, these are the 3 bottom bolts. 2 of them have these rubbers. Or does this have a double? No. Anyway, that's what we got. Okay, the issue here is I drilled a hole, and I worked on it last time to get access to the last bolt. I'm going to try to use a magnet to take it out so it doesn't drop in anywhere, but the stupid thing about it, and other mechanics have complained, that this car was very poorly designed, that you'd have to pull off this cover, which I believe is a timing cover, and a whole lot of frame and all kinds of stuff all the way down to even get, just to change the valve cover gasket. So I'm hoping that just pull this back enough and pop it off. We'll have to see. But the trick is not to lose this bolt down in the engine. Okay, got her out with a magnet and looking good. She didn't want to come loose, so I tapped it with a putty knife and got it to loosen, so we're looking good. Well, here she is out, and everything looks pretty good. This is supposedly where it was leaking, somewhere around here. But gasket seems to be in nicely. This part snagged and came loose, I think. One of the top edge. I pushed it back in, it's holding in nicely. Anyway, that's it. Okay, I had to use crazy glue because this socket has a rubber in it to hold the spark plug to pull it out. But the problem is the rubber is so strong that the extension pulls away, so I have to crazy glue the extension onto the socket so that it won't pull out, giving it time to dry. Just add that it was unnecessary to take the plugs out, although I am planning on changing the plugs. I just like to share the crazy glue story. It might be helpful to some. I got this bracket loose here and put the two bolts back just loose. I can't seem to figure out how to get this loose here. It's all busted up, and so I'm going to just try to loose them all and hang them to the side. Okay, we got all our coils and spark plug caps hanging down here, so hopefully we can get this off. I took this off here, and this stupid cover's still got a problem. I mean, it really is not cool, but it should be able to pull back enough to get the cover off. Before I forget, this was quite loose and this was quite loose. I can't remember whether that was tight, but some of these were loose and not really snug down. These are top and bottom bolts. They all seem to have the rubbers, which is good. This is the right hand side valve cover. Okay, we got something here we got to loosen. Otherwise we get all the other bolts out. It looks like we need to move this hose, disconnect it here, because it's free, but it's not really out of the way. We pop this side with a knife, soft blunt knife, so she's loose. Okay, so she's out. I don't know what we can see here. It looks like a little bit of, it's hard to tell whether this happened when it got taken off or whether there was a little seepage there. But we'll have to go and clean this up, and it's going to be tricky getting the gasket to line up and not drop off, but we'll see what we can do. Yeah, I've cleaned all around with the scrubber and the crud and crud remover, whatever it is, and got it all nice and clean here. So, well, this is a really great story. I recycled some parts from old Mercury engines, and it seems that their threads are the same as the metric threads in the Sorento. So, for example, I can change these bolts to stainless steel, as well as the cover bolts, which are a little bit shorter, about this size, and even the manifold bolt, which looked very rusty. I've managed to find matches from the parts that I had from Mercury engines. So this is really great. I can change a lot of the parts to stainless. Well, I've been advised not to use any Permatex or sealer to help hold the gaskets in place, but this is tight. The way this fits in, this is tight. So I'm not worried about the center, but the outside, see, it's just floppy, and I'm afraid that it might drop out or get out of alignment putting it on, so I have to think about this more. Okay, I got the manifold cover back on, all stainless steel bolts, and all cleaned up nicely. I've also tied everything back here so the cover can go on nicely. Another thing I noticed is down in here I found some places where there was a buildup of stuff that might be holding the gasket back, so I cleaned off the one that was here, and there might have been one there, but this one still needs to be dug out. Okay, I cleaned heavily with acetone all around the edges. Oh, there's a little bit of grease there. But I think I'm going to try put the gasket on now and the cover. Finding this whole cover's got to push back here, and this is in the way, so I'm going to take this hose off here, see if I can get this farther back so I can push everything back this way to get it underneath this edge, because this edge is holding up everything. Okay, I've tucked it behind this where I took off the hose. Hopefully that'll give us more room in here to get the valve cover on. I think we got it. It was just, I think we got it. The only danger is knowing if anything got pinched, but if we put the bolts through and they go through nicely, then we should be safe. These are the bolts, and as you can see, some of them appear to not have the correct things in them, which means the pressure wasn't down on the cover properly. These are ones that I got with a kit for the head gasket that came with all sorts of parts, so I'm going to change these. Well, I discovered that this washer doesn't come off, and that so there are two things here. And so this one has one missing. It's a little misleading here that there's, I gotta check this out because something doesn't feel right, but we'll see. These comes off. The washers don't remove. There's sleeve, the part of the sleeve can't come off. So gotta remove this from all of these and then replace them with that. So that's the deal. Well, I decided to clean them up with diesel and then degrease them and just to make them perfect. All cleaned up and ready, and it appears that not having these meant that the valve cover wasn't getting even pressure down on the gasket, because it appears that that's really what applies the pressure onto the top of the gasket, the valve cover. For the last bolt that has to go into that tiny hole and line up here, I've stuck it in with tape so that hopefully it won't drop out and lose it, and get it in the right hole. Take the bolt out of this so I can pull this back. I want to have a lot of room here to push all this back. Okay, this is for the right hand side, upper and lower. Came in beautifully without a struggle. These are the last of the bolts, and they sent the seals exactly the number, no extras.